You're listening to the Pink Tax podcast, where being a woman costs more and we've got the receipts. From overpriced razors to underpaid roles, we're talking money, power, and the price of showing up. Let's get into it. Welcome back to this week's episode of the Pink Tax podcast. Today I am joined by a dear friend of mine, Chantel, and she is the purple-haired, potty-mouthed knitwear designer and owner behind Knitatude. With a specialty in writing beginner-free, friendly, modern, and size-inclusive patterns that fit, she makes designs that are meant to boost your confidence as you continue your knitting journey. If she's not knitting, you can find her cuddling up with her two wiener dogs, Ashley Spinelli and Kurt Russell, devouring romance novels, or being loved on by her hubby, Todd.
Yeah, we love Todd.
You can find her and all her designs on Ravelry and Knitatude.ca, and can find her on social platforms like Instagram and Facebook through the name Knitatude. And her debut book, Sweater Success, comes out on November 4th. So it will be out by the time this episode goes live. Congratulations.
Oh my god, I know I have a book. How insane is that?
No, and you brought it.
I know I brought it. I actually remembered to bring it, so good job, Chantel. A+.
It is so wonderful.
It's super cute. This one's your copy.
Thank you. How are you feeling about it being out in the world?
Exciting. I know that I wrote so much about this book because I specifically, so if you don't know, Sweater Success is a book that is like a how-to of how to knit your first sweater. Or if you've knit sweaters before and you're like, I just don't understand why that, like, something went wrong, it came out too many sizes too big, or like it's not fitting correctly. This is like a how-to essentially to be able to like figure out all of those things that you would need to know in advance. And I keep on reading like a chapter each week, and I'm like, oh my god, I wrote so much. Like there's so much info, and it kind of like reads kind of like a blog post, and it's like I talk to you as if we're friends and we're hanging out, and it's exciting.
Well, and it's, as someone who's written a book, it is such a labor of love.
Oh my god.
The editing to me was the worst part.
The editing and also the photos. Like we took our own photos. So I had a photographer. Her name is Kayla. She took photos of all of my patterns. We went up to like Lake Louise and did a bunch of stuff. So that's like where you're seeing that nice blue. But Todd, my husband, and I literally did the rest of all the photos, and it was awful. The photos look great.
They do.
But my poor sweet husband, we would do like 2 weeks before the deadline, because like I had 3 deadlines.
Right.
We would do like 2 weeks before, we'd be like, okay, these are the photos that we need to get for this chapter. And then he would like wake up in the morning and be like, I made you with coffee, and like, let's have a good day. Like he would just like hype me up, because he'd be like, what do you want? I was like, I don't know, but you're not getting it.
Oh, jeez, poor guy. But it's going to be out in the world, and I think the perfect Christmas present for people.
Oh my gosh, yeah, totally. If you have a knitter in your family, don't buy them yarn, please. As a knitter, we're always like, thank you so much for buying me a yarn that I will never use, or I need like a super like specific amount for a sweater. Buy them tools and buy them a book.
Yeah, and you can get a signed copy, yes?
Yeah. I'm having signed copies on my website, which is knitatude.ca. I'm still currently figuring out tariffs for the States, but that is a rolling problem.
Yeah, that's a work in progress.
It's a work in progress.
That sounds like a November issue.
That is a November issue.
I am so happy that you joined me today, because we have known each other for, 10 years at least?
I think longer. I think we may have known each other for 15 years at this point.
Oh my gosh, wild.
Okay. No, at least 10, because I think we met in 2016.
Okay, yeah. So I want to go back to the beginning, back to 2016, or whenever you started Knitatude. Was it?
Yeah, I started in 2014, and then I was running like Why Was He Girl Gang, and we asked you to do a tax workshop, and yeah, you can tell that story because it makes me feel super silly.
So I was teaching this workshop, and we're at this coffee shop, and then walking these entrepreneurs through like how to do your small business taxes as like solopreneurs. Yeah. And Chantel was one of the organizers, and at the end of the session, I'm like, okay, and I like look over, and there's like Chantel like sobbing in the back, Because she hadn't filed her taxes for a number of years.
Yeah, for like multiple years, and I was like, I don't know how to do this. I'm so behind. The CRA is gonna like take me out, and you were like, nah, it's okay. You're just gonna do all these things. And then I got really, really good at doing taxes because I think I did like 3 years in a row.
Yeah, you had lots of practice.
Lots of practice.
But we've both come a long way since.
Oh my God, so far.
Yeah. Okay, so tell me about starting your business. I want to know what made you start Knititude and how it has transformed into the businesses it is today because you didn't always just sell patterns.
Yeah, no. I started Knititude in 2014, and it was because I had just learned how to knit, like maybe about like a year and a half before, and I was like, I cannot have more scarves in my house.
Right.
I am a woman who lives in my yarn at this point, and I was like, well, maybe I'll just like, maybe I'll sell it. Maybe I'll sell like a few scarves. I had a couple of girlfriends being like, hey, can I buy one of those? Or like, can I have one of those? And I was like, you can pay for it because it takes me like 8 hours to be able to hand knit this entire scarf. And then I just started selling, and I made Knititude, and then I started selling at like Market Collective and like a bunch of things. And then I had a girlfriend, probably in like I think 2015, and she was like, you know that you could like sell this as a pattern because like I'm a person that even though I literally write patterns, I hate reading them because I find like knitting patterns can be really, really convoluted and confusing, and they look like a completely different language, and I was like, this freaks me out. So when I started writing patterns, I wrote patterns for like the things that I wanted to see in patterns, like why am I doing this, where am I doing this, how am I picking up that many stitches, like what is the ratio, what should I be doing, and I started adding these all in my patterns, but yeah, a girlfriend being like, you can sell that, and I was like, what? She's like, yeah, you can like sell knitting patterns. So like if you think of like a recipe where it's like do like add 1 cup of rice, blah 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 blah. Like that's essentially what knitting is where it's like cast on X amount of stitches, do this for X amount of rows, so on and so forth. And it just became like something that I fell in love with. And I realized that I unbottlenecked myself because essentially when I was starting Knititude and I was selling items, I was like, I can't knit fast enough to be able to like make up for all of these markets. And then also the same idea being like, my wrists hurt so much. And being able to like sell a pattern or like a PDF, I was like, oh my God, I do this one thing and it takes a lot longer to be able to do. Get it tested, have like a bunch of people like go through it, give it like, get it tech edited, so on and so forth, and that, but it's like once it's out there then people can buy the same PDF over and over and over and over and over
Yeah.
again, and I don't have to do anything, so it like completely altered the way that I ran my business. And then on top of it, like I'm really big into marketing, so I used to work for an advertising agency, and I used to literally write ads, and now after 11 years I just went full time in March of
Yeah,
2025.
congratulations.
Thank you, which is so exciting and it's so terrifying. Um, but yeah, I just like I put everything into like social media marketing, and just like I love social media by itself. It has like a double-edged knife, but I don't know. I just kind of grew an attitude to like follow me, and like as much as people are like buying my patterns, they're also just like I really like following Chantel because she's a total dumbass and she like makes an ass out of herself online, and I talk about politics and all these different things. So I think people just like
You're
watch it.
relatable.
Yeah,
And you're doing for knitting what I'm trying to do for financial
what you are
education
doing.
is make it approachable,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
Because
yeah.
when you're talking about like, knitting patterns being like you're reading, and I've read some knitting patterns. I've been knitting since I was 8, but I can still only make a square. Which
Hey man, a scarf is a rectangle.
we're gonna change that. I can probably do a scarf.
Yeah, you totally can.
But what you were saying with like reading it and being overwhelmed, that's exactly how I felt when I was like starting to look at money and like
Oh
investing.
my God, yeah. Well, also just like taxes, like I'm like again back in we're talking back in 2000 like 16 or whatever when we had that event, I was like, it's so overwhelming because it's like when it comes to taxes as a small business owner, you're like, don't put this in the wrong place, but I don't know if this is in the right place, but I think if I'm supposed to put this here, but I'm not sure if I'm supposed to put it here, and it just becomes like very overwhelming. And I think that's why so many small business owners, especially like sole props, don't do their taxes for like multiple years because it's terrifying. It's
Yeah.
scary. And numbers are scary.
And the CRA is not coming to get you.
No.
Like that is, I think that's the first thing I said to is like, you're not going to jail. Like we're gonna get this figured out. Like it's gonna be fine.
Yeah.
So, I love that you're doing that for knitting, and also you're a local Calgary small business owner who
Mhm.
has built a very successful business, and I think that that is something that should be celebrated.
Thank you.
Okay, before we dive into more questions about your business, I do want to go back
Mhm.
and talk about kind of your upbringing and what
Yeah.
your kind of relationship with money was while you were a grant, because I do think that that shapes how we view money, how we access money, and how we kind of use money in our day-to-day life.
Yeah, I honestly think that so I was really really lucky as a child. I grew up in like a middle class family, like probably upper middle class. And because of it, it was like my parents always were like, well, if you want to buy something, like you should get a job or you should do whatever.
Mhm.
And I think that that's actually what leaned me into going into having a small business in the first place, where I was just like, I want that additional income. I am capped out at a specific place
Yeah.
for working at a job. And like, I worked in radio and TV, which is like abysmal for like, we're talking like a person who was on air at the time, which would have been when I was in radio, which would have been in 2013, like capped at like 40K.
Oh
Like
God.
it's insane. And that's like if you're on air, like it's just that industry is so hard to be able to make money. And I was like, well, I'm just gonna start making my own money on top of it.
Yeah.
And I think that's honestly because like my parents were always the people that were like, well, if you want to like buy a pair of like those jeans, you need to like you need to get a job. And I remember getting a job when I was like 14. I was a parking attendant at the Calgary Stampede all year
Oh.
round. Not just during the Stampede, because the Stampede is more than 10 days. It is all year round with like, I literally like, it was a person that was like, go down this lane with like a light up
I
like
love that.
saber for like Flames games. Like I started work so early.
Oh, and I mean, like, I was actually just recording the first episode of this
Yeah.
season and going through kind of my story. And as I was sharing it, I realized like how entrepreneurial I was at a young age, always trying to make extra
Oh
money.
yeah.
Like,
Where you're like, oh, I'll just sell like a few more clothes, or I'll just like do a lemonade stand. Like if you like the
yeah.
lemonade stand, it's like such a litmus test of like, are you gonna try and make more money?
Mhm.
And then you also realize that you're like, oh my God, I just cost my parents so much money because lemonade is expensive and it's not 5 cents.
You were selling your lemonade for 5 cents. I was definitely doing at least a quarter.
Oh, damn it!
I also tried to sell crab apples. We sold three. Those were five
Oh.
cents. So we sold. But you look back and you're like, okay, all of those experiences shaped kind of your relationship with money and your
Yeah,
drive to want to earn more. And,
yeah.
I think one thing that I hope this podcast does is encourage women to say and feel that it's okay to want a lot of money.
Yeah, like being rich is not a bad thing. Like being rich means that you don't have to worry about a lot of things that are out there, like groceries. I did like I don't know, like having we would not have been able to afford a house if I didn't work Knititude. Like we would not be out of student debt still if
Yeah.
like I didn't work Knititude. And like
So your business has brought you financial independence.
yeah, like it's insane. Well, it's also like wild that we literally have to have a small business or a side hustle to be able to like live in
Yeah.
this fucking universe. But like
That's a whole other rabbit hole, right? Like, I firmly believe, like, if you work 40 hours a week, you should be able to put food on the table and a roof over
yeah,
your head.
yeah.
And it feels like right now, and I mean, inflation has been crazy since COVID, but it really does feel like you need a full-time job and a hustle to afford life.
Oh my God, I don't even have kids. Like we have two dogs, and I'm just like, I'm like, I just don't understand how like a family can like afford to live.
And it's not like you're living like a crate. Like, I
No,
know I know you
I live in a
personally.
1911 home. I do not have a single flat floor in my entire house. Like everyone's like, oh, millennials are really reaching because they want to like have all these things in their house, and I'm like, I don't. My if I put if I put my like those like IKEA like library like whatever it's called, it tilts by
Mhm.
like 2 inches. Like oh my God, what I would wish for.
flat
Level
floors.
floors.
Yeah. I'm sure that's expensive to do.
Oh my
Okay, I
gosh.
wanna. So this year you went full time with Knitatude, and I
Yeah.
know we've had lots of conversations about how terrifying it is to go full time as a small
Yeah.
business owner. What made you decide to do it?
I think it was just like watching my full-time income start to get matched
Mm.
and then get outmatched and then like outmatched by more, and just like this idea where it was like, okay, well, maybe this is a thing, or being like, okay, well, this is actually like a viable thing, like this might actually happen, to being like, oh my God, I could do this. And then like having enough savings, having enough put away for like investing, and like having enough to be able to have retirement, and then also like, I don't know, like having enough to be able to have like for 3 to 6 months, like that was the tipping point. And also the fact that like I was really, really disliking my job at that point, and I was just like, I'm so tired of having. So essentially I wrote ads. So I used to be a copywriter, and I was an associate creative director at a pretty big agency here in Calgary. And I was just like, each time that I got a brief, I was like, this should be fun. I'm literally like
Yeah.
writing a Skittles ad. Why am I not enjoying this? And I was like, because I hate this.
Oh no.
Like, and I think that like kind of took that tipping point. And then I also got this book offer, and then I ended up getting another agency here in Calgary that was like, we know that you have a book offer. And like a bunch of my friends had moved to that agency, and they were like, well, maybe you might want to do like part-time and see what running Knititude
Yeah.
part-time would be like. And I was like, oh, I can do that. And then all of a sudden I was like, okay, well, if I work Tuesday, Wednesday, half day Thursday, and I dread Tuesdays, like,
The plague.
yeah, like maybe it's time to take a gamble. And like having all of that, like being financially stable enough to be able to take that gamble on myself was just wild.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
So you went full time. It's been going well,
Yeah, we're like 6 months in.
and I feel like as a small business owner, there can sometimes be like a lot of self-doubt.
Yeah.
Like every day,
Very much
speaking
so.
from experience. How do you navigate that? How do you remind yourself that it's going to be okay? Does money play into it? Like, do you ever freak out and think that you should apply for jobs?
I have to laugh because like my first thought is something that Todd tells me that I do all the time. He goes, "You just go and you Scrooge McDuck." He's like, "You whenever you're like, oh my gosh, I don't," because it's like, let's be totally honest. Every single month is like you got to check those numbers, and you're like, "Are we doing okay? Are we
Yeah.
not doing okay?" I also decided to go full time into my business when knitting slows down. Like I was like, March, duh. Obviously, we're getting into the warmer months when I'm not making as much money, and it should be totally, that won't be stressful at all. Um, but it was literally like, as soon as I would like have that panic, that freak out, I would double check my like investments or my coffers. Again, Todd says he's like, Scrooge McDuck literally has a magical skill that can jump into money and it doesn't hurt him while everyone else like falls on it. He's like, you're a person that like will go into it and just dive and be like, I'm fine. Like if I don't have a month that is profitable, it's okay. Like you've
Yeah.
made that nest egg. You've made that, like you have that safety. So I think it's honestly that, but I think it's also like I have a very supportive husband who's like very, very
Yeah, and
wonderful.
and I want to talk about that because you're in an interesting relationship, I think, for most people,
Yeah.
in that you are the sole income earner.
Yeah.
How has that been? Um, Especially because you're kind of like turning gender norms on their head.
Yeah, so I have like a very, very opposite relationship. So my husband Todd, we've been together, oh my God, I think we're like 11 or 12 years into marriage. Oh my God, we got married in 2013. Math, 12. It's 2005, 12. We've been together for a really, really long time. And my husband, he cooks, he cleans, he does the laundry, he takes care of our household, and I work. He also takes up like a few like shifts here and there,
Yeah.
like bartending, and then he also runs a hockey league. But for the majority, it's all me. And I think we just realized in our relationship pretty quickly that it was like I have the drive to be able to make more money and want to be able to make a bigger impact. And like, I love working, and that's something that I like really enjoy doing. And Todd was like, and I like doing all the other things in a household that like I do not do. I'm like, I can cook, but I don't enjoy it. I can't clean, so I don't. Like it's just like it's just something that I'm like, this is not my strength, and we've just
Yeah.
realized how to be able to like kind of work that together. Um, it is super stressful. Like I'm like I've now realized I'm like, oh my God, like in the pandemic when I was working full time for advertising and then also working at Knitatude at the same time, I was like, oh my God, am I Don Draper? Am I literally like Mad Men? Am I the person who like finishes working my advertising job, comes downstairs and is like, where's my martini? It's a
Oh my
gimlet. He would
gosh.
make me a gimlet, like a gimlet at a gin gimlet at 5 to be like, ding ding ding. Ding, done. I was like, oh my God, I have a house husband. Like, I have a housewife. So we've like very, very switched
Right.
roles. And like, I feel extremely lucky to be able to have that because one, Todd is just like such a wonderful person. And I gush about my husband all the time because he is just so wonderful. But it's like, I think it takes a different guy to also deal with that
Totally.
because like the gender norms are like not just a push against me, it's also a push against him. So like the amount of times that people are like, even our friends being like, oh, do you need like a job, like do you want me to get you a job? And he's like, no, I have a job, like I take care of Chantel, I help with like things around for like Knititude, and like I the household is like my priority and that's my thing, I don't need a job. And it's like, and it's still really hard for our
Yeah.
friends to wrap their heads
Push up
around.
against a lot of friction there. And I'm curious, what do you think, like, if Todd vanished tomorrow and you had,
I would have scurvy and die.
I was gonna ask,
I would live off of mac and cheese, and that
how
is literally
how much
it.
do you think you would have to pay to have some of those services?
Oh my God, I would have to pay for a cleaner. I'd have to pay for a cook because, like, yeah, there's
Yeah.
the reason why I'm able to work as hard as I do is because I don't have those other things. Again, like we don't have kids, so like the priorities for me to be able to take care of anything else is like make sure that the dogs get fed at 8 a.m. and at 5 p.m. and take them for a walk. Like
Yeah.
it's not as if it's like anything as big as kids, but yeah, the amount of money that I would have to spend to be able to like replace Dodd because we're talking about like what is it called when it's like unpaid labor?
No, it is called unpaid labor.
Yeah,
Yeah, you're just like not part of the paid labor force that we have deemed as society that is
it's a
valuable.
monetary.
Well, no, like from the
Yeah.
like we've said like unpaid labor is women's work and
Mhm.
being part of the paid labor forces for the men in general, of course. And
Yeah.
then women have joined the paid labor force and they're still also usually expected to do all of those household things. So it is really refreshing to see a relationship where it's different and it's flipped on
Yeah.
its head, I think.
Yeah, it's really wild and like I feel like it's kind of hard because I don't have that many friends that I can like be like, "Hey, how's it going with your like like it's harder because not as many people relate to it. I found like a few and it's nice to be able to have those relationships, but for the majority they're not around me. Like I still like it's so funny like I feel like I have so many friends who also do knitting accounts and like their husbands now work for them and I'm like, I can talk to you and like we have the same thing, but it's like it's still not the same when like when you go for like brunch with the girls or whatever and it's opposite. So
Yeah.
it's like it's kind of lonely and it's kind of but I'm like, am I just complaining about something that like men might have been complaining about for so long? Because like patriarchy also fucks over dudes too.
Totally. And I think like it is really healthy for men to be involved in household things and if you
Yeah.
have kids, raising kids and understanding what it takes to run a household because it's not easy and it's not straightforward. And like you just said, it would cost a lot of money to replace that.
Oh my God, so much money.
Okay, I want to flip to the crafting community because you have been crafting patterns for a long time, and at one point you were actually selling your knits.
Yep.
There's two things I want to touch on here. So, one is I feel like crafting is kind of looked at more as like a hobby.
Yeah.
And I think that I'm sure there are men, but I think a lot of people think that it's something like only women do, or
Or
traditionally,
grandmothers.
yeah, or traditionally maybe it has been that way. I'm curious what your thoughts are being in that community and how you think it actually diminishes like the economic value of this because like you've built a successful business. There are other successful crafting businesses that make multiple
Oh my
six,
God.
sometimes seven figures.
Crafting is like such a massive thing that is so under the radar that you wouldn't even realize it. Like, but also at the same time, like when you think of like the pandemic, what is the first thing that you did outside of like not having anything to do or watch TV is you decided to start art. And
Yeah.
like whether that was like baking or getting a new sourdough recipe or a starter or like learning to cook more or picking up knitting or picking up painting, like the arts are there because they're so comforting, and it is really frustrating because you're talking about like a whole entire section which is just like kind of looked as like, oh, but women are the ones who knit, or like, well, you can't actually make a lot of money like crafting. And like the sad part is that in reality a lot of people cannot, which is very frustrating. And I think it's because it also like becomes like pervasive, like that as soon as like society says that crafting can't make money, then even we as women still want, like, don't think that it could happen.
Right.
And then it goes into like, well, I would never pay for a pattern, I would only pay, like, I would only get free patterns, or I would only like, I would never pay $12 for a pattern. I would only pay three. And it's like, why do we feel that way? It's still the same amount of work. It's still like, we're talking like 60 to, if not like 300 hours of work for $3. Like, why do we as a society, even as women, why do we think that it's okay to be able to pay women so low? And I think it's because there is this like, this stigma around crafting that it's just like, well, it's a hobby. Well, you were gonna do it because it's a hobby. So it's not even like you're not really having like a work hour because you're just sitting in front of the TV and you're still knitting. And I'm like,
But if you're sitting in front of the TV and answering emails,
yeah, and I'm like, okay, well, if we want to have that argument, like, why don't, if you want, let's say that it's like if one of my acquaintances that I don't like reached out to me and was like, oh my God, I would love to be able to have a hat. And I'd be like, okay, awesome. It's going to take me about an hour and a half to be able to make that. This is the cost of that. And they would be like, well, no, I don't want to pay that much. I want to pay $10. I would get that at like, Walmart. And I'd be like, okay, well, that's awesome. Then why don't you clean my house for an hour and a half? And all of a sudden that
ooh,
shifts,
I like that. I
like that
like that.
shift where it's like, oh, well, they're like, you're just going to be in front of the TV and you're going to be knitting for an hour and a half. And I'm like, that's still an hour and a half of my time that I am doing for you that I'm not doing for someone else. So like, is there a way to, yeah.
No, but no,
Like,
you're leading into my next question actually without even knowing what it is, which is around pricing. Because you
mm,
used to sell physical knits,
I
right?
still harp on this. This is my favorite topic.
I'm so glad, and I've seen your little rants on Instagram, and I love them
Yeah.
every single time. But when someone, and I think especially in a time where there's so much fast fashion, like
Oh
I
my
was
God,
literally
yeah.
just talking to someone about this yesterday. Like we used to have like seasons, like the fall collection got brought into like H&M, the Gap, wherever Ritzia, wherever we're shopping. It's something
It's
new
daily.
every week.
It's daily.
Daily.
Like we're talking about like Shein and we're talking about like Temu. Like technically like I think I never remember her name, but I think she's like the main person behind Prada, where she essentially like she started doing seasons where it was like you gear up for the next thing and then like a new collection comes out for the fall and then a new
Yeah.
collection comes out for the winter. But that didn't happen until like I think like the 1940s. Ugh, I wish I could remember what this who this person was. But now it is like it's daily. Like H&M is putting things out on their site that is new daily. Temu is like hourly, and we're talking about like so many things where it's just like there's no possible way that those things are like made well.
Well, and like just the level of consumption that people have. So I guess getting back to my question, when you've come up against this, and I mean it's been a while since you've actually sold physical
Yeah.
products, but like how do you manage, someone saying like I'm assuming you made that sweater. I only want to pay $35 for that when it probably took you.
Oh my gosh, this one has beads. This one is made with a fingering weight, so it probably took me about 70 to 80 hours.
Yeah, so how,
Not including the wool. Also, this is cashmere, so this yarn alone. This is the most expensive thing that I actually own.
like, can I borrow that?
No, you cannot. Like, and I think the yarn for this one is roughly around like it was 14 balls, and each ball is like roughly $30.
Jesus.
It's yeah.
So like,
Yarn is expensive.
how do you manage that? Like when you were actually selling physical products, like because you would have to sell that sweater for hundreds of dollars.
Thousands, like
Yeah.
literal thousands. I think it's just like you have to try and like educate. And I think when I first started like selling my makes, that's always been my thing where I'm just like, knitting is like a hand knit. It's slow fashion, and it's meant to be slow, and it's meant to be like each stitch is supposed to be treasured. And it's having that education of just being like, hey, heads up, like if I am making you a hat and it takes me an hour to be able to make, and my minimum wage is $15 an hour, because that's minimum wage here in like Alberta. I think it actually went up.
No, it hasn't.
No.
We are the lowest minimum wage in every province and territory in Canada.
Psych. So let's say it's like $15, and I'm like, and then I bought one ball of yarn, so that's let's say $10, and I'm like, that alone in just materials and like the cost for my hour is $25. And then from there, that's not even including a profit margin, which like as I'm a business, like I do so many more things than sit on the couch for an hour. I do social media, I teach on YouTube, like all these different
And
things.
there's costs that go along with just running your business.
Oh my gosh, and like the average like markup is like anything from like 2 to 5. So technically if I did like 100% of a markup, that is going to be $50.
Yeah, I feel like people it's so hard when you can. I'm not saying it's the same thing, but when you have an option to buy something online that's $10 and people are in a challenging economic time, like it's hard to buy from.
And you see all these things of like Temu and Wish and like Shein where it's like, oh, now it's an acceptable amount of money to be able to have a $4 shirt. And you're like, okay, but just because you're not paying for it, someone else is paying for it in like forced labor, in unpaid labor. It's
In
just
terrible work conditions
in
and
terrible work conditions. So yeah, I think it's just like the education phase of being like, oh yeah, no, this is like how much it actually costs to be able to like make this. And then also like it's so wild to have to tell. I think this goes back to your question about like a hobby is having knitters and crocheters being like, oh, but I'm only just like I'm doing it because I love it. But I'm like, but it's also like that's your time. So like to get knitters to charge an hourly wage is like pulling teeth, which is just
oh,
so sad. Because I'm like, if you compared, if you went to like, if you decided to pick up like a second job just at McDonald's, like you don't have to have any prerequisites to be able to do that. You can just do that, and you're getting $15 an hour.
yeah.
You have learned how to be able to knit and like make these beautiful stitches and do all this thing, like these things, and like that is valuable. But that's still an hour of your time. So why is it that a person who needs no prerequisites or like a specific task or no assistant, so like skill to work at McDonald's, why is it okay that like that is
They're making more money.
why is that okay to be able to get minimum wage, but then as a crafter that you can't?
Yeah, that's a really good reframe, I think, because I think oftentimes we expect women to do things for free in our society or for low value. I remember it wasn't always women in the personal finance space, but like I remember there was a person who was like severely undercharging like the rest of like kind of the personal finance space for writing articles, and it sucked, but they were like, we'll do it for $20. And I was like, you're gonna write a whole article for $20? Like,
Well, like, and also that is that it like it really undervalues your entire
well, that's what
community.
happened is everyone
People were like, "Well, what do you
eventually,
mean? Why
yeah.
aren't you doing $20?" And you're like, "Because no, it's I take more time."
Yeah,
Like,
because it takes a long time and we have
oh,
knowledge
it
and
it kills me when people are like, "How much should I charge for my items? Let me just like compare it on Etsy." And I'm like, don't you dare compare on Etsy because it's just those are the people that are like, oh, it's okay if I'm because I'm just a hobbyist, and I'm like, but it does mean that the person who is comparable to being a full-time person or part-time or is trying to actually make money from this to be able to support their family, like you've now undermined them, which is like so sad, and this is why crafting is so downtrodden.
Yeah. Okay, I want to know about how your money has shifted and your finances have shifted since 2016 to when you became a small business owner that went full time, and now since you've gone full time, how have things shifted and changed? And I also, as a follow up to that, want to know like how managing your finances with Todd has been when you are again kind of the main breadwinner and the person that has to bring in the majority of the income in your household, and how you guys have managed that together.
Yeah, when I first started Knititude, I was like, this is play money.
Okay.
like that's what it started as, where it was just like it started paying off our debt, and then it was like, oh well, if we did want to go on like vacation, we would like use the Knititude funds, and like it just always became like a thing that was like kind of like I was always working full time and then also working like
Right.
a business on the side, and then having that just like grow and take care of like those little side things, and then all of a sudden to go to full time where I was like, oh, you don't have regular income. like it
This is
was
your regular income.
yeah, it was I was like, oh my God, I need to make a certain amount of money now, and it has shifted like the way that Todd and I talk about things, where it's like, okay, well, we had a budget before, but it was like it was okay if we like meandered.
Right.
But now it's like, no, this is like this is how much money we're bringing in. This is how much money we have to be able to spend. This is how much money has to stay in the company because I'm an incorporated. Anytime that I take out more money in a dividend or whatever, it ends up taxing more, and I'm like, I have to meet the baseline to be able to make sure that I am not losing money. Um, but it like really had to like start those conversations of like, no, we need to like how much money are we spending every single month? How much are we doing like in our household? How much money do we need? How much like just like actually breaking down those numbers, which I think were just like a lot more loosey goosey before, have now definitely gotten more strict.
Yeah, really getting to know those numbers and understand exactly how
And you're
much you
like, where
need.
the hell did all that money go? We need to do like a budget, and like we need to like go back in. Like Todd's always so Todd went vegetarian a couple years ago, and he's like, my favorite time of the month is like how much money did I save by going vegetarian? And then he also has a cheese one, which I think is just mean because I spend too much money on cheese.
There's no
Um,
such thing as too much money on cheese. I can tell you that from experience.
we just want the Saint Angel from Ben Cheese.
Oh my
like
God,
it's my
one of the
favorite.
best.
But I'm like, I literally have like a pre-budget. Like that's insane. Like I'm like, oh, I spent a lot of money on cheese and dairy this month.
But it's so good.
I
And I think
know.
like, but what is the point? Like I kind of always go back to like when we're talking about money and we're trying to, figure out things, whether it's in our economy or whether it's in our household, it's like there is also like, of course we can't go like crazy, like and just like blow
Yeah,
everything. But like
yeah.
if you
Moderation.
really enjoy brie, like then have a brie budget. Like I don't
Yeah,
know.
I literally have a pre-budget.
I love that. How much is your brie budget every month?
uh, I don't want to tell you. It's like roughly $75.
I think that that's fine. Like what is that per week? Like
It's
20 bucks a week?
like, yeah, it's like it's 16 bucks. There's 17
Which is
bucks.
like, I know the cheese shop Chantal's talking about, and it's not like a cheap cheese shop. Like it's a very nice cheese
No,
shop,
yeah,
and like so
it's
that's
so
like
cute.
a very reasonably priced piece of brie, in my opinion.
It's
What is
insane.
it? Hey,
And
if that's
honestly, it only started because like the girl that that's there, she was like, I think she's like, you come in like every week. I think you need a brie budget, and I was like, I do need a brie budget. That is such a
but
brie.
do you go out and get coffee?
No.
Yeah, you're like an at-home chai tea latte girl.
Yeah, yeah.
And so like easily people spend $80 a month on
No, that's true.
coffee. So it's just like what I think this is like actually a perfect example of like what is something that actually adds value to your life,
That is
because
important to you.
if it's not going to the local coffee shop and getting
to
a,
the local cheese shop.
it's going to the local cheese shop. And it can be different for other people, and one is not right and one
Yeah.
is not wrong. So I actually thank you so much for sharing that. And if you're sitting here being like, yeah, takeout coffee really doesn't do it for me,
I just really want a brie budget. Give me that.
here's your permission. If it works in your budget, do something that you actually enjoy spending money on.
Yeah. And like, worst comes to worst, we just like, if we don't spend that money, we don't spend that money, and that's totally fine.
Okay, if you're ever not going to spend that money, just have me over and we'll eat brie.
Okay.
I'm sure we can work our way through that
I'm
budget.
sure we can figure that out.
Yeah. Okay, before we kind of wrap up this episode, my last question for you, and I think we've talked about this before, but I want to know how you measure success because I think that this is a question that I've been really curious about for a while, and I think it's different when in your personal life and your business. But I'm curious if it feels like a profitable quarter. Is it, learning something new or creating a new pattern? Is it, getting a message from a subscriber? Is it being able to take vacation? Like, what is success to Chantel?
I think in my business, it's along the lines of like, I don't know, there's something like so cool about making things in my head and then making the item and then seeing that on other bodies that have like knitted and like picked their own colors and then like modified it to be able to like make it to them. Like that is like a massive like success for Knititude where I'm just like, my pattern worked. And it like I just what came from my brain is now something that they've done. So I would say for success wise, but then I would say for like for my own like just myself and if we're talking about like money at this point for when it comes to like personally, it's not having to worry. It's the no stress of being like, okay, well if we like wanted to like do a quick like jet out to the mountains, like that won't break us. Or like if we want to save up money to be able to go to like a vacation or like go to Mexico or whatever it is, where it's like that's not going to break us and it won't like I don't know, there's just if I want to spend $75 on brie, I can spend
You don't have to
$75
buy
on
the
brie.
camembert from Safeway.
Yeah, or like Costco for like $10. Like I don't know, it's just it's like not having to look at every single price tag that I am spending when we go to get groceries because groceries are insane.
Every week, I'm like, how did we spend that much money on groceries? Like,
It's insane.
it's never be like that. And that I think that makes us sound old. But to your point, I think, being able to not stress constantly about money is such a gift. And I love that your business has been able to do that for you because it sounds like if you hadn't have started Knititude, you would be in a very different.
Very, very, very different.
Yeah. So I don't know, just congratulations that like it's so amazing to see, the journey you've been on these past kind of 10, 11 years that I've known you. And I'm so proud that you have a book coming out into the world. So with that, um, Chantel has a local book launch, but you also posted you're going to a whole bunch of other
Oh my
places.
gosh, yeah.
Tell us about that.
November 4th is my official book launch. November 6th is my book launch party at the Plaza here in Calgary. Tickets are $20. And then November 8th, I have a book signing at Stash Lounge, which is here in Calgary. Then November 13th, I am in Vancouver for a book signing at Bad Anna's. On November 14th, I am in Victoria at the Beehive Wool Shop for a book event. November 15th, I am at Bolin Books in Victoria as well. I love Victoria. And then I just booked Montreal, December 6th.
That's going to be so fun.
Yeah, which I'm very excited. We're going to La Maison Tricoté, which I just am going to be signing books and doing
Oh,
things.
that's amazing.
Yeah. I'm going all my favorite spots. Everyone was like, "Why are you going to Montreal?" And I was like, "Because I want to go to a Habs game, and because I want to go like I'm hoping that the canal is frozen." My dad's from Montreal, so I'm like, I would love, love, love to be able to just like skate on the canal and just like do fun things. And it's kind of close to Christmas, and then also Victoria is my favorite place in the world.
Oh, I love that. And that's such an exciting fall you have planned.
No, I know it's a busy one.
Okay, so where can people find you?
Ooh, best bet is Knititude on Instagram. I'm also on Facebook, but not really as much there. On TikTok, I'm also trying to grow my YouTube right now, so you can find me there underneath Knitatude, KNITATUDE.
Knitting it on YouTube.
I also have a knitting community,
Oh
which
yeah.
is super exciting. My next one starts November 1st, and then the one after that will start in February. It's like a 3 month chunk. And we do a knit along and we hang out, and I do prompts and we do lives and we do like stitching bitches and like
I feel like that would also be a good Christmas present for someone.
oh my
Like
god,
a
yeah.
subscription to a 3-month knit along.
Yeah, which is awesome. And it's just like a beautiful community. And like, I get so excited. I do a win of the week every single week on Sundays, and people share what they're like working on or what projects they finished or like things that have been happening in their life. One girl, she was like, I got let go from my job, and she used to be a lab tech. And she's like, and I realized that no one else knew how to use the equipment. So I asked to be able to buy the equipment, and I bought the equipment, and now I'm starting my own practice. And I'm
Oh my
like,
gosh.
that's such a win.
It's very like lessons in chemistry.
Yes. Oh my God, I love that
That was
book.
such a
That
good
was
book.
such a good book.
That's amazing. So people definitely need to check that out, and I'll make sure that like all of the links to all of those things are in the description for this episode. But you're also giving us a couple of freebies here. So you're giving us free access to the course Going Viral: The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. Tell me a little bit about that.
So Knititude has gone viral probably over 20 to 30 times, and we're talking like big viral. We're talking like I think my top one is 39.7 million views,
Wow.
and other ones, the other like 10 or above like 10 million. I have one like sweater, scarf, and design that goes viral all the time. It's usually me in a wedding dress. I literally get up in my wedding dress, and people love it. People hate it,
People
but
love to hate it.
I love to hate it. But I think that like when it comes to social media, there's this whole entire vibe that it's like, oh, to be able to make it, you have to go viral. And like there are so many good things about going viral, but there are also so many downsides. And I talk about that. I talk about like what you can expect by going viral, what you can prepare for yourself as well to be able to like capitalize on going viral,
Yeah.
and then also how to be able to protect your mental health because it is a toll and it will burn you out.
Yeah, I have never gone that viral. I think probably the closest was when I went viral on YouTube. And Chantel
You got all the incels.
did go out viral on the wrong side of YouTube. But Chantel was a little bit of a keyboard warrior for me, which I appreciated.
I was like, I will donkey kick every single person. You guys are so stupid.
Oh, I appreciate that for you. I honestly just thought it was funny at the end of it.
I was literally at a boxing event, like one of our friends had a fight going on, and I was like, I can't talk, I can't watch the fight, I have things to talk.
Oh my gosh. But yeah, it is like, and again, nowhere near that level of virality. So I can only imagine. So
Yeah,
I will,
it's a good course.
yeah, I will make sure people get access to that. And you're also giving us 50, pardon me, percent off of one pattern on your website
Yeah.
with the code the pink tax. So thank you for that.
Yeah, of course. More knitters, come hang out, buy a book, but also like get into knitting because we didn't even talk about the politics in knitting, but the like like the political scene in the knitting world is pretty female forward.
I love that.
It's pretty female forward.
Yeah, and I honestly find for my mental health, like usually in the winter because like it's dark for like a million hours of the day, and then I don't know, just like the anxiety, the stress of like life feels more impending in the winter, but I will usually try and do something with my hands. And whether that's like a paint by number or knitting, like that has helped me like greatly over the years of my adult life.
It's also just like every single stitch that you do, you're like, oh, that's literally progress. I can literally see that progress,
Yeah.
and it's such a rewarding. You're like, I just did a row, and you're like, you did.
And then you do a scarf or a square,
Yeah.
which is where I'm at.
That's okay. You can do multiple squares, and then you can.
But now I'm gonna have a copy of your
I know, and then you're gonna make it.
and I'm gonna make a sweater. So next year, when we do this episode, I will have a sweater on.
Yeah, no, but honestly, I can help you.
Amazing. Of course, yeah, I'm so excited. Well, thank you so much for joining me on this episode of the Pink Tax. I think that there were lots of, really great takeaways, and I'm so excited for people to get their hands on your book. So you can grab it wherever books are sold.
Yeah.
or knitatude.ca
Yep.
if you want a signed copy from Chantel. So I hope you enjoyed this episode this week, and I will see you next week.
Thank you.
And that's a wrap on this week's episode of The Pink Tax. Thank you for joining me on the front lines of financial fairness. Remember, understanding the cost of being a woman is just the start. Now it's time to demand your worth and build your wealth. Don't forget to subscribe so you never miss a step in dismantling systemic inequality and securing your financial future. If this episode sparked a fire in you, take a screenshot, tag us on social media, and share it with a friend who needs to join the movement. Until next time, keep your wallet guarded, your eyes open, and let's keep fighting for a world where pink is just a color, not a tax bracket.